Part of what made Julianne Moore's character so compelling in the film was that once she realized about her condition, she was very proactive in taking steps to help her with the transition. She played word games, she played puzzles, yes. But more importantly, she worked at improving her relationships. She worked at addressing those most important things, so that when she became more frail, her network of support was able to give her the love that she needed. We find that even in spite of her illness, she could still maintain dignity, and she can trust the people which bring her ultimate happiness. As a little side note, you should know that when I visited our first graders in preparation for today's liturgy, as well as our 8th graders, which I typically do about once a week, I had asked them to write down what makes us happy. By and large, the majority of them wrote something to the effect of love, family, friends. So what can we do to help us not forget? It's to build lifelong habits, or to put it another way, in a very Catholic way, it's to practice virtue. Virtue are those habits of the heart, those things that we keep on doing until it becomes part of us. One act of patience does not make us a patient person, but multiple acts of patience. One act of love does not make us a loving person, but multiple acts of love. The same could be said about hope, prudence, courage, and so forth. The biblical scholar N.T. Wright gives us a great example of virtue in action when he spoke of that winter day a few years ago. Do you remember about the plane that crashed into the river? So that was Captain Chelsea Sullenberger, and he observed that his engines had died because of interfering geese caught up in those engines. N.T. Wright notes that if Sullenberger had thumbed through the manuals, that the flight could have easily landed in the Bronx, killing many, many people. But because Captain Sullenberger was a 30-year pilot, in those 2 critical minutes, he did all sorts of things in order to reposition, restabilize, and reorient the aircraft in order to prevent loss of life. All of the small decisions he did over the course of his training, over the course of his work as an instructor, over those years as supervisor, was able to serve him when it was most needed. What needed to be done became second nature in his body, embedded in the collective memory of the body. That's what virtue does. That's what good habits do. So let us continue to be faithful to the very small acts that we do, the good that we do for one another, the small acts of worship, the small acts of gratitude, because they become part of the body's memory, and they turn on when we need them the most. So that when the dust settles at the end of the day, we can relax into how God has truly made us happy